Hello, Egypt. Hello, Alexandria. Can we hear you a bit? Come on. All right. My name is Marcel Dridje. Excuse me, with my papers. And the topic of today, very, very interesting. How many entrepreneurs or wannabe entrepreneurs are in the room? I want to see a show of hands. Okay. Awesome. So the whole topic about this particular discussion is navigating the evolving investment landscape. So we're going to be discussing what are the trends, the opportunities, the challenges for startup. So I think this is a very interesting topic for all of you, wanna-be entrepreneur. But at the same time, I have a fantastic distinguished guest sitting next to me, coming from all parts of the world. And I'm going to start introducing the only lady in the panel first. It's all about being courteous. So we have our friend Joanne, who comes all the way from Canada. So let me see. What can I say about you? All good stuff. Joanne, why can't you introduce yourself?
It's easier.
Much easier.
That's what I...
Because I'm trying to see your background. Yeah, here you go. Yeah. Joanne is the chair of the IEEE Entrepreneurship. She's connecting tech entrepreneur to an engineering-driven global innovation network. IEEE Entrepreneurship develops and provides startup resources for academia, researchers, and tech entrepreneurs. Welcome, Joanne. Thank you very much. A big applause to my friend here. We have Walid Al-Bala, all the way from Sukna Ventures in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Give a big applause to our friend there. So the VC established in 2015, Walid built a deep expertise in sourcing and structuring technologies around the whole fund that he's leading, and talk to Walid about anything tech and fueling the entrepreneurship with the VC mission that he has. Absolutely amazing. On the left-hand side, please welcome the only Egyptian on my panel, all the way from Qahira al-Asima, my friend Hany Emad. He has absolutely an amazing, interesting mission, and I'm really humbled when he explained to me what he's trying to do. He's the head of the Medium Enterprise Development Agency called the MSMEDA, and I'm going to ask him later on what is all about. But the good news is, you as an entrepreneur, you're looking at us as business angels, early stage investment, and when you make it to MVP, when you start showing some traction, well, guess what? My friend Emad, he's the right person that is helping you there. So big applause to him. And the last, in the middle, the handsome one with the same look as I have, younger than me. That's the look that he has. Mr. Ali Abussaud. He's based in Riyadh. He travels the world. He's the VC. And basically, he likes to call himself a sophisticated investor. So let's talk about that later on. But the good news is that he's here to understand the whole Egyptian startup ecosystem and hopefully invest maybe at later stage, Series A, Series B, I guess. Is that correct? Early stage before. It does everything. Excellent. All right then. Question to the panel. This is where we are. It's all about looking at those trends and challenges. So we're going to start with the opportunistic side of for startup. Mr. Emad, opportunities. What are those opportunities that you're laying the ground for those early stage SMEs from an Egyptian perspective, hopefully even the MENA perspective? What can you share what your organization is doing on the upfront?
first of all, we thank you for your introduction. Second, we believe that we have a very talented pool of entrepreneurs and pool of startups, and we believe this is the only way for develop our economy. So MSMEDA is an institution that focus on empowering and supporting the whole spectrum of SMEs and startups. We know it's very important for the economy to support the entrepreneurs and startups because it will bring a lot of added value for the economy. We have a pool of talented people that need a lot of supportive program to help them for start their own business. That's why we launched our venture capital program in 2020. It's funded and supported by the World Bank. We try to invest in the whole spectrum of startups, starting from ideation up to Series A. This is the main focus for first phase of venture capital program. Our program is aimed to invest in funds that invest in Egyptian startups. We allow our GPs to invest up to 40% of the fund in startups in emerging markets. We know it's very important for the GPs to have a diversified portfolio in terms of stages that they invest in terms of domiciles that the startups are working in. That's why we allow them for invest up to 40% of the fund in emerging markets, for the startup in emerging markets. This is why we wanted to have a better linkage between the Egyptian economy and other economies. It will benefit both of us, the Egyptian economy and the other ones that we invest in. We will have some kind of know-how transfer and knowledge exchange between both of them, and also it will benefit for the GPs to have a decent return through diversified asset portfolio. We know it's very important for the startups to have this kind of exchange and this kind of international linkage, and it will benefit MSMEDA also to get a decent return to launch the second phase of the venture capital program.
Thank you, Mr. Emad. A big applause for Mr. Emad. Joanne, you are based in Montreal and your VC firm is based in California. And the next question for you is for our entrepreneurs in the room. What are those trends that you're seeing in this ecosystem from a US perspective and maybe closer home as you're traveling across this region? What are those trends you're seeing?
Hello? Oh, it works. Okay. So some of the trends we've been looking at, let's say, since our VC firm is based out of California, it's been challenging for startups to start raising money, especially at the pre-seed level, before they get to Series A. The valuations have dropped. Some valuations dropped by half. This is all coming after the pandemic, and it's greater and greater challenge. But if you have a really good tech, then the VCs, there will be no problem. But is making the VC realize that you have a great technology. And always, the trouble always is commercialization. Yes, you have a great tech, but how will you commercialize it? And that is always prevalent no matter what economic situation there is. And if you can show you can commercialize your tech, then you're a winner and you should be able to get your funding also.
Thank you, my friend. Next door, Ali. You know very well the MENA region and Saudi, of course. A question for you. Actually, I have two questions for you. A, what are the trends to encourage the audience that you're seeing in our beautiful region, MENA, and what's going on in this hot space in KSA? That's my first question. Second question is, what are those one or two, three things that you feel again, all the time, the startup is struggling with from a challenge perspective?
Sure. So thank you very much for the introduction. So basically, Saudi Arabia has been evolving a lot. So what we have seen since the beginning of 2019, that the startup scene has started to expand, started to really grow in Saudi Arabia. And I believe that the dramatic growth that happened there, it's much faster than any other market, which is, again, it's good for the whole ecosystem. I'm talking about MENA region, because now for Egyptian startup, they could consider Saudi Arabia as a start or as a scale-up program. So it depends how you really look at Saudi Arabia. So I believe that now as Saudi Arabia is growing, the benefit, it will go across the other neighboring countries in terms of, let's say, potential sectors, in terms of accessibilities, or in terms of just, let's say, other branch. So it depends how you really look at it. So what we have been seeing lately, so many, I'm going to talk, let's focus on the Egyptian market, for example. I've seen that there are lots of Egyptian startups who started to either reallocate their quarters to Saudi Arabia or to start having a hub in Saudi Arabia. And again, when I say reallocating, I don't mean that to disappear completely off the Egyptian market, because this is something we don't want to have. It's something that, how can we have a win-win for both countries? So a startup who already started in Egypt can have the reallocation of one of the co-founders, for example, or both co-founders, and they will still yet have to keep their kitchen in Egypt. So by this, both of the countries will benefit out of this, let's say, structure. One of the things we have seen also that VCs across the MENA region, and even including Saudi Arabia, they started to, I would say, kind of restructured their model. So regardless, when you hear about the dry powder, that so many funds, they still have access to fund, they're holding it down. The way they did is like restructuring. So by that, I mean that they started to keep more for their existing portfolio companies, especially the high performance ones, and they started to be also more precautious. So whenever they look at a new startup, now they will have to think about the longer kind of returns. So is this startup clear to make it to the profitability? Does the unit economies make sense? If it doesn't make sense today, is there the available factors that will make it away in the coming, let's say, shorter horizon? If not, they will just pass. One of the studies I have seen a few days ago is that the amount of the amount of VC spent time by VCs looking at pitch reduced by 12%. On the other hand, the amount of pitches that being sent by entrepreneur to VCs increased by 16%. So I don't want to take much of the time of my colleagues.
Excellent, thank you, Ali. There you go, your return over there, Wael. From a startup challenges, let me give you what we at Sophia Business Angel, for the last 20 years, we've been basically catching data and we're sharing it across our network. And these are the things that come all the time. So this is for the founders to take note, and I let Mr. Wael seize it from his own point of view. Failure to plan, lack of market demand, ineffective marketing, knowledge and skills gap, financial management, securing funding, especially these days, hiring the right people, leadership from a founding perspective, time management and productivity, impact on the founders and team, health as well, that happy balance between life and the startup world. So if you have to pick up a couple of those from your own point of view, which one would you give that sound, wise advice to really pay attention so they can give you that wow factor for you to invest?
Thank you. First of all, it's great to be here in Iskandariya. This is a pleasure and an honor. The good news here is that entrepreneurs today are much more mature than the entrepreneurs of a few years ago. So all the basics are there. The challenges that we had 5-7 years ago were about market entry. I'm an entrepreneur. How can I enter a given market? Today, that challenge changed. It's been solved. Now it's how can I scale? It's from barrier to entry to barrier to scale. And I think the last couple of years also taught us one big reason of failures. A lot of the entrepreneurs think that they cannot succeed without having a lot of capital. And I think what we learned is more companies die from obesity than from hunger. Sometimes capital can be a distraction. You have to be very careful in terms of measuring how much capital you need for your runway. One other reason that I see very prevalent in the region, a lot of the founders are very smart in terms of developing the strategy, of developing the product, but they miss out on the go-to-market strategy. How do I actually take this to the market? That is still challenging for a lot of entrepreneurs, whether it's in B2C or B2B. I guess another one is, and when we talk about scalability, the founder sometimes forgets that they're actually building two things at once. You're building the product, that's for sure, but you're also building a team. You're building a corporate culture. You're building a decision-making machine. How do I build that team with me? How do I decentralize decision-making when the company gets up to a certain stage? Those things are very important, and they do not appear until you get to a certain scale, and then they play a big, big role in terms of whether the company succeeds or fails. And if I can add one more thing, I think you need to also, the market is not as forgiving as before. There were before lots of low-hanging fruit. Software is eating the world. A lot of opportunities that, are abound. But today, all the low-hanging fruit is gone. You have to work on difficult problems. You're not going to do just arbitration and create a unicorn. You're going to have to create and structure real full-stack businesses that solve big, huge problems as well.
Thank you, Walid. Interesting insight. So the message, I think, from Walid, and I agree with him, I have a lot of respect for those bootstrappers out there. So if you have to do it with that elastic minimum budget of family, friends, and fools like me, my best advice there, go the extra mile and believe in what you're trying to do. And something else I would add, the biggest investor for any one of you when you start your venture is to be customer obsessed. A lot of startups are really forgetting how they deal with customers. And so be passionate with customers. My friend Joanne, another question for you. You are meeting all the time entrepreneurs. You are mentoring, you are coaching. Could you tell me what do you see, one or two advice that all the time you're saying it and you cannot keep saying it? What are those one or two things for the entrepreneur to really focus on? Is it the team per se? Is it the actual MVP itself? Is it the market research when you go out there and speak to customers? One or two things that you're still keeping saying and you're seeing, and we need your advice there.
So being chair of IEEE Entrepreneurship, we work with a lot of electrical engineers who are technical by nature. And also at Reds Capital, we invest in a lot of deep tech startups. So they're researchers, academic researchers, so they're technical also. The problem is never the technology. You put a bunch of technology gurus together, they will solve it. It may take a few months, 6 months, 12 months. It will be solved because technical engineers, scientists are brilliant. They're geniuses. They'll make it work. The challenge always is sales and marketing. It's how do you commercialize your tech? The market research comes into play. But yes, you can do all the market research you want, but it's putting it into action. Do you have the right team to do it? And usually a challenge we find is that the CEO is usually the tech guy who is not necessarily the best person to be developing a market. We had talked earlier, one of the best thing is if you're starting a startup and you're the technology person, is team up with someone who have a business background. That could be one of your friends or colleagues you know that maybe got his MBA or her MBA or has a business background in business development. Use that because it's knowing how to open up the market. You may be able to do it locally here in Egypt and then spread out around Middle East, North Africa, but what do you do beyond that? Because VCs like to see your future, and it's not just local, but global. But you have to think of how you're going to do that. And you may not have the people now, but you got to think about, I think I know where I'm going to get those people to build your team and be coachable. Listen to what a VC tells you. And your failures do represent success as long as you learn from your failures. So I'll leave you with that. Excellent.
Thank you, Joanne. Back to Ali. We talk about trend now. We've seen fintech, until the cows go home for the MENA region. We saw mobility We're seeing more and more maybe agri-tech. Too early for this region to talk even about space tech. Now that we are in the era of AI, can you give some wise advice, AI being horizontal to any vertical out there? Can we be specific from a region perspective and see where do you see, is it AI for Arabic, like some kind of deep tech, using that for the Arabic world, 550 million of us, plus the 1.7 billion Muslims out there. Can you give your own perspective from a vision and at least inspire some of those young entrepreneurs out there, something to look for?
Yes, very, very deep question. So when it comes to AI, first allow me to start by saying that in so many occasions we see startups that they just claim that they are AI, but whenever you try to look and dive into the business model, there is not real AI component into that. So when I say AI, it has to be much deeper than any just other word that's being used, because if you are just trying to be, let's say, integrated with the chat GPT and try to just utilize your own product to go and integrate with another technology, this is not really a deep AI we're talking about. The deep AI, it has to be an element or a product that is really has the right deep technology, machine learning behind it, where it has been run, it has really studied the market deeply, and now it has the opportunity to run those products and use the algorithm in order to produce or decide or make a decision, certain like that. So unless you really have this kind of methodology for the AI components, you will end up just being another claiming AI to be. So when it comes to the AI, I believe now when it comes to the world, let's say to the global world, which are much more advanced, like the US market or European market. Now I could see that so many VCs, they are looking, when it comes to the AI, they will look into the ethical AIs, they will tell you. So those, they will be using the information or the data of the users and let's say ethically. So this is also something to be considered. Whenever you really have a kind of AI or a product, you have to think deeper. Think what would the market, what does the market or your product do exactly, and what is the methodology, and how the data will be utilized. And again, when it comes to the data utilization, how the information or the data will be protected, and how you could really, the most important question, be able to sell this product. Because I've seen so many AI startups who maybe started to have great ideas. They already started towards building those ideas. But if you try to walk it with the founders, take it much further, you will find that they're unable to sell this into the market. So think deeper. Will you be able to sell this market? If yes, to whom? Try to identify who will be your, let's say, client, potential clients. Is it going to be like the B2B or B2C? If it is B2B, have you been really having the chance to discuss early on with those potential clients? Have you started to see, is it a real problem they are having? Or is it something that they have already started investing in? Because if you are trying to go and compete with something that is being really invented by another big corporate, unless you are a first mover, you're not going to be having an access to the capital they will be having. So try to be really humble enough to know exactly where to position yourself before you really come in with an idea of an AI. I hope I answered your question.
Excellent, yes, you did, Ali. Now, our friend Emad, can we kind of wrap it up in a positive way, where in Egypt you are dealing with a SME type mission, and the whole idea is for this beautiful country of yours is to develop more SMEs and wealth and creation, job creation, etc. Can you give us some examples of some successes that you're seeing, and what other extra mile that you can leave with the future entrepreneur of Egypt about coming to your visibility when it comes to building an SME business?
First of all, I would like to say that more than 98% of the business that running in Egypt, it's considered to be small and medium enterprises. The majority of the startup, the business in Egypt, unfortunately, is the informal sector. This is a big problem for Egypt, and that's why MSMEDA launched, prepared and approved the law number 152 to encourage them to be formalized. Through formalization for this sector, it will help us to give them a lot of incentives and a lot of supportive program, either it's a financial or non-financial. Either it's financial programs or non-financial programs. Our law has a lot of incentives in supporting SMEs because we know it's very important. It is the main force in that driven the economy in Egypt, and we notice the importance of this very important sector during the past 10 years, and that's why we have designed and customized a lot of supportive program in either it's financial or non-financial. During the coming period, we have adopted a new strategy for MSMEDA to support the startup, the SMEs and startup working in specific sectors, because we know it's very important to support the industrial sector because it has a lot of developmental impact on the economy, and it has a lot of labor. So we have designed a program, integrated program, financial and non-financial support the industrial sector. Also, we have a specific concentration on the green economy, and it matching with our strategy as a country to help green economy and blue economy both. We have a lot of relation with the DFIs to support MSMEDA with the best practice and know-how transfer, how to deal with these very important sectors. Finally, for the startups, we believe it will add a lot of added value to the economy, and it would help the economy to grow and to improve and to increase its quality. And we noticed during the last 3 years the support that given for the fintechs through regulatory sandbox under the umbrella of Central Bank of Egypt. It gave a lot of support for the fintechs, and we notice now we have a very talented fintech startups in Egypt that complement with the banking sector and non-banking sector for not only on electronic payment, but for online lending, consumer finance, insurtech, a lot of financial services provided by the fintechs in Egyptian fintechs. We have as a MSMEDA and also as a country, we have a lot of dream regarding the startups that working in other sectors, business sectors, like we know the only way to improve the quality of education and the healthcare through supporting the startups and that working under this main sector. It needs a lot of investment in this area. So if we have adopted a solution through Egyptian startup to provide a better service in education and in health, it will improve the quality of service provided by the current system. And also we wanted to have some kind of efficiency in providing the service with a moderate cost. I will not say as a minimal cost because it needs a lot of capex, but I think if we improve the ways that we offer this service through a unique solution and very easy to use solution, it will help us for improving the quality of service through these sectors. Also, we know it's very important to concentrate on the agribusiness. That's why we have a lot of concentration regarding the startups that working in agribusiness.
Excellent. Agri-tech is the way to go as well. Just before we leave you and thank the panelists, I just want to give an advice to those startups that are pitching later on. 4 acronyms: vision, strategy, execution, and metrics. So one day you wake up and you had a vision. That vision in general doesn't change. Strategy can change once in a while. But what's important? Execution, and get some metrics. It doesn't matter who in your team, engineers, marketing, sales, business development, it doesn't matter. So you have to have execution all the time. Wishing you, inshallah, good luck to all of you that are pitching tonight. And on behalf of Tekne, on behalf of Tariq Al-Qadi, and on my behalf from Sophia Business Angel, please a big applause to our panel here. Thank you very much.